This is Mom's Kitchen lesson on how to make black bean burgers, or black bean and beet burgers in this case. So we just have some things that we're going to need. We're going to need a half an onion. I have some leftover onion and some pepper. We're going to need a half a green pepper, half a red pepper, depending on what kind of peppers you want in there. We're going to chop them really fine. We have some garlic cloves. I happen to only have 2 left, so I'm just going to use these, but if you like more garlic, you can do garlic. You're going to need a large bowl. You're going to need your vegetarian refried beans or refried black beans, doesn't matter, whatever you like. A can of black beans. If you want to make them beet burgers, you can get a can of sliced beets or organic sliced beets. This happens to be a small can, but you can get the can that's the same size as the regular can if you want it to be more beety. These are some things that you could add. You could add chia seeds, you could add flax seeds, you might need a cup of brown rice, but that's for later because we only need those if it's not dry enough, if it's too wet. But the main binder is going to be a cup of oats. I'm using organic rolled oats. And then you're going to need a cutting board, a good knife to chop your onions, green peppers, and garlic fine enough to incorporate into the burger. And you're going to need a strainer to strain your beans because they have the liquid in the can, so you want to strain those before you start. And when I get to the actual making of it, you'll see what I mean. And then you need something to smush it all together. I like this tool, which you can get in a grocery store. You can also use this tool, which this is a potato masher to make mashed potatoes. This tool is fine, but I like this tool better. If you don't have either of these tools, you can smush it around with a fork and knife, kind of like cutting through it. However you can do it to sort of break up your beans and incorporate all your stuff together. So these are our tools, and we're going to make the black bean burgers. We're going to make the mix, and then we'll make the burgers. Okay. I'm going to show you how to deal with a clove of garlic. So what you're going to want to do is take a nice big flat knife like this. You lay your garlic down on your cutting board. You place your knife over it, and carefully, without cutting your hand, you just push down. What that's going to do is that releases the peel, and then you can just peel the outer coating right off, and then you have the clove. You may have this one's a little blemished, little bruises and stuff like that. So you can just cut that off, no biggie, or just see how deep it goes. It's just like when you have any other piece of fruit or vegetable that has like a bad spot that you didn't know about until you open it up. So that's fine. And so now what you're going to do is it's going to have this little end part where it's attached to the bulb. Most people don't like that because it's very woody. You can take that off. And then you have your clove, which you can then just chop. For this purpose, for the black bean burgers that we're making, we really want to have this finely chopped, so when you're eating your burger you don't bite into a huge piece of garlic. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this all. Now we're going to start to make the mix. In the sink I have drained the black beans and the beets in a strainer or colander to get all the liquid out, and I'm going to just put that into the bowl. And now I'm going to use the tool I showed you earlier, and I'm going to just start mashing all this together. There, you don't need them to be perfectly pasty. You just need them to be, I don't know, mushed up. Because we're going to add the refried beans to this too, which is really going to help it stick together. And you're going to have pieces of actual beans in your burger and pieces of beets, but you don't want like anything too big. I mean, again, it's to taste. So whenever you're making these burgers or any type of burger that's a veggie burger, you can really throw anything in it you like. You can throw in cooked sweet potatoes. You could throw in corn. You could throw in whatever you like. There are veggie burgers that are sweet potato burgers. I mean, there are lots of like really good options on what to put in your veggie burgers. So you can see this is getting pretty mushy. That's really good. Okay, so that's pretty good. Okay. I have finely chopped our garlic, onion, and green pepper. Now, if you're trying to do this on a budget, you want to buy whole produce and chop it yourself. But for convenience sake, of course, you can buy the onions and the peppers already cut up in the produce section. Keep in mind that when the grocery store is pre-cutting anything, fruit or vegetables, you know, they're cutting it in their kitchen on their equipment, and not that you would ever get sick from that, but I'm just saying that you have more hands involved and more machinery involved. So this way you're in control of everything. You buy whole produce, you wash your produce. It's much cheaper, and you cut it yourself. But of course, for convenience, you're going to pay more to have it already cut at the grocery store. Okay, so I'm going to add to my bowl the garlic, the onions, and the peppers. Now again, for the onions and peppers, it's really to taste, and I had a really big onion. I would normally use half a pepper, or like a quarter of a green pepper and a quarter of a red pepper and half an onion, but that onion was really big, so I ended up using like a quarter of it. So you're just gonna like mix it all in, get it all incorporated. So I've gotten a spatula. It just makes it easier to mix it around. And you know, if you want to chop it up more and have less chunky pieces in there, then you can just continue to chop more with the other tool or with, you know, a fork. Now I'm going to add the refried beans. In this case, I have regular because that's what I had in the pantry, but I prefer to use refried black beans. I just didn't have a can in the pantry, so I'm going to use just the regular refried. And again, it's whatever you like. You can use refried black beans, or you can use regular refried beans. I like the vegetarian ones because then you don't have the lard. The regular refried beans are made with animal fat and really like very high in fat and kind of not really great for you. Every time you make veggie burgers, it's always going to look different depending on what you put in. And also everything, there's not really a recipe as far as like exact amounts of anything. I just throw stuff in, and you'll get to know what you like and what you don't like. Now you can see from this is actually really much wetter than it would be. This is really wet. Like we haven't added our binder yet, but even so, like this is really wet and would never make a patty, you see. And I think it's because these refried beans, when you get the black refried beans, they're not as wet as this. These are really wet. Okay, now I'm going to add my binder in, which is the oats. That's going to start to make it thicken up and be easier to form into patties. And you're going to want to just get these all in here. Now, you can make this mixture ahead of time, put some saran wrap over it and put it in the fridge if you want to like make the actual patties like the next day or whatever. You don't have to do it all in one sitting. If you have some time to make this mixture, but you don't have time to actually make the burgers, you can put this in the fridge. So just cover it with saran wrap. You don't even have to cover it. You can just stick it in the fridge as long as, you know, nothing else is going to get in it. So this is still, to me, really like wet for making patties. So the way that we can remedy this is a couple different ways. We can add the chia seeds, which will really absorb a lot of this liquid. You can add some ground flaxseed, which will help absorb, and of course you can add rice. The other thing that you're going to want to do at this stage before you make patties is you're going to want to taste your mixture, because this is all cooked stuff. Like you can eat this as it is. So what you're going to want to do is just taste it for salt and pepper needs, because you want to add some seasoning to it. So I'm just going to give this a taste. Yeah, this needs salt. So at this stage you would add salt and pepper, maybe like any other spices you like, and season it at this point. I've gone ahead and added salt and pepper to this, and I also threw in some chia seeds and flax seeds. I didn't measure anything. I just sprinkled some in and stirred it around again. It's starting to get thicker now. You can see it's starting to get more like you would be able to make patties out of this. Oh, the other thing you can do with this mixture, which is also really good now that you have it at this point, if you don't want to use it all to make burgers, this is actually really good with just like rice and guacamole in a bowl. Like this is almost like a really fancy refried beans. This is sort of like a concocted refried beans. You've added all these other things to it, and it's really good if you just heat this up and, you know, put it in a bowl, put some rice, heat this up, some guacamole, some fresh tomatoes, and you have a meal. Like you don't even, or in a tortilla. Like this is actually really good. You could roll this mixture up in a tortilla with some vegan cheese and some fresh tomatoes and guac, and it would be delicious, really delicious. So this mixture is very versatile, and like I said, even if you're putting different things in it, sweet potatoes, whatever, corn, you know, other vegetables, whatever you decide you want to put in it, It's a great mixture, and we're gonna make some awesome patties. And now we're gonna make the patties. And you're gonna wanna preheat your pan so it's getting nice and warm while we're getting ready. And we're gonna do it on a medium setting. I have mine on 5. We're gonna cook these burgers low and slow. Okay, that's how they're gonna get nice and patified. Okay, I'm gonna use some gloves to help make the patties because it is very messy and sticky. These you can get at the grocery store. They're in the aisle, usually they're in the cleaning aisle with the cleaning gloves, but these are the gloves for food prep. You're gonna need a spatula to do your burgers. Here's our mix, ready to go. I'm gonna use a scale. Of course, you don't have to use a scale, and I'm actually going to put this on ounces, and I'm gonna make 4-ounce patties because in my experience, 4 ounces for any type of burger you're making, whether it's beef burger, a veggie burger, whatever, like what you typically get at a fast food restaurant is a 4-ounce patty. And the reason that I like to make them in 4-ounce servings is because it's the perfect size patty, especially for a regular hamburger bun. It's exactly the right size. So I'm going to do it, but of course you don't have to do that, and you can just make them whatever size you want, keeping in mind that the thicker you make your burger, you know, it's not gonna, it doesn't need to cook through because the stuff is already edible as it is. You don't need to cook anything in this mixture. What you're doing is just you're cooking it to make the actual patty. So what we're going to do is we're going to get 4 ounces of the mixture, or whatever, you know, or you'll estimate and you'll make it sort of like patty sized. Okay, so that's good. And then the way you're going to make a perfect patty, here's how you're going to make a perfect patty. You're going to roll your mixture into a ball. Okay, I rolled it into a ball, and then what you're going to do is on your preheated pan, you're going to place it down. I'm going to just show you with one because I want you to see how it comes out. So when you push your ball down, you get that perfect patty. You see, I just made a perfect patty, and that perfect patty is going to be perfect bun size. The 4-ounce patty, when you make a ball and then you push it down like that, it's like perfect patty. Okay, so we're going to do that one. I'm going to put the timer on for 5 minutes, and then I will flip it over, and then we'll do this from a different angle so you can actually see what's happening. I've had the burger on that first side for 5 minutes. Okay. And I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to use a hard spatula because that one I was using is flexible. This one is hard. And I'm now going to just flip it over. Oh, that really came apart. Okay. So this mixture, so I can tell that this mixture is still really like wetter than you would really want it. But so I've gone ahead and gotten my next 4 ounces ready to go. I'm going to make this into a ball like I did before. And you have a nice ball, and then we're going to put that on our frying pan. Of course, you can do this all at the same time. I wouldn't have normally just done one. I would do 4 or whatever you can fit in your frying pan. You're going to put that down. You're going to push it down to be a nice, beautiful patty. And then you're going to let that sit there. Let's put the timer on for 5 minutes. So I have my 4 ounces, and I'm going to make my ball. And then I'm going to put it down on the frying pan. Push it down, and it's a beautiful, perfect patty. So here you can see we have the four burgers cooking away. We have our timer on. Each side gets 5 minutes on medium, on 5, on a preheated skillet. And if you or your roommate happens to have an electric skillet like this, you can do a lot more burgers at one time. So this is the kind of skillet that you plug in. If I had this plugged in, I could make probably the whole mix, maybe almost the whole mix at once, because I'm sure I could fit like probably 8 burgers on here. I'm sure I could fit 8 burgers on here. So these are just cooking away, and look how beautiful they look. In fact, they look, I mean, at this stage, because they have the beets in them, they kind of look like ground beef, but there's no animal products in these babies. This is all plants, hashtag eat plants. So now that it's been cooked on both sides, it's much firmer, and it wasn't hard to get it off like it was when it's harder to flip it when you're flipping your first side. So let's see if we can get these to, yeah, see, these are, it's hard to You kind of have to experiment with which spatula you actually own that'll work best for this without messing it up. Yeah. The first side is always the hardest. I mean, the flip is the hardest. Once you get the second side cooked, it's pretty, you know, it's easy to get off. It stays together as a patty. As you know, when you put these on burgers, anytime you eat a veggie burger, whether you're at a restaurant or home, oh man, that just messed up. But that's okay. Home cooking, baby. Not perfect. We're not a machine. We do our best. I'm going to let this one sit longer because that went onto the pan, you know, after the other ones. So the cooking of these is what actually just helps them stay in a patty shape, because you, like I said before, you don't have to cook these to eat these. These are perfectly ready to eat as is. But the cooking helps them become patties. Let's see if we can get this one to flip better. Oh, there we go. Oh, that worked good. It's all about experimenting with your tools. See which spatula flips good. Whatever. Double-handed is fine too, like I just did. So you're just going to have to experiment with what works for you. So I'm going to let those sit there for another, they have 4 more minutes on the timer and 5 for the other one. So the one I just flipped, I'll give an extra minute after I take these 2 off. It's really interesting because this one here that kind of like broke apart as we flipped it, it really looks like ground beef. Actually, they all do. Isn't that funny? Okay, so you have a couple of options now. Let's say you wanted to make a number of burgers for friends that were coming over. What you would do in that case to keep them warm is you would have your oven on a low temperature like 250 or 300, and you could actually put these onto, you could put them onto, I'm hearing some odd noises from Dad's office. Anyway, you could put them onto a cookie sheet in the oven and cover them with foil to keep them warm if you're making like more than, you know, whatever you can fit in your pan. And that way, if you're trying to feed a bunch of people, then, you know, they stay warm in the oven until you're ready to feed those people. Okay, that's the timer for this one. And we'll turn this off. See how nicely they come? Once they're cooked on both sides, they really stay together very nicely as patties. So now we have, let's get this. Okay, so your options are, if you're trying to cook for more than 4 people at once, and you know you need to do several batches in your frying pan, keep them in a warm oven. If you are having these throughout the week, if you know you're going to eat, the ones that you know you're going to eat pretty quickly, just keep in the fridge. And then, of course, you can freeze them. So, but what you want to do whenever you're putting anything that you've just cooked into the refrigerator or the freezer is that you have to let it cool down. You can't put it in the fridge or the freezer directly warm. You need to let it totally cool and then put it in the fridge or the freezer. Otherwise, you're going to, you know, you could potentially have some bacteria growing. So these patties are ready to go. They look great. We're going to put them on a bun and enjoy your veggie burger.